Welcome back to Career Talk. I'm Cole Sperry, managing editor over here at Optum Careers. Today, we're going to talk about how to make sure you have the right resume. We're going to go through a process called A/B testing. Before you cast your resume out to hundreds of your favorite jobs, you want to make sure that you have the right resume because that resume is going to forever be stored in the ATS of each of those companies. You can come back and apply with a different one, but both versions of your resume will be sitting there side by side. So let's get it right the first time. A/B testing your resume is a great way to ensure you have the right resume, and it's also going to maximize your chances of obtaining those job interviews. So by doing this, we're going to quickly compare different versions of your resume to determine which format is most effective. So here's the steps. First of all, for those of you who may not be in marketing or may not be UX designers, let's talk about what A/B testing is. Many people A/B test things. Marketers test ads, UX designers test concepts and web pages. Even companies A/B test job descriptions to see which ones are going to resonate with their desired candidates. A/B testing is simply a way to compare two versions of something to figure out which one performed better, and is a great way for you to test your resume with a small sample size of hiring managers and recruiters before you go casting it off to every employer you want to work for. If you're receiving automated rejection after rejection within days of applying, it's time to do some A/B testing on your resume. So let's set up this resume experiment. The first thing you want to do is create a way to track your applications, the version of the resume that you used, and any variables that maybe might have been introduced, like how you were introduced to a job. Was it a referral? Was it a cold application? Because those things can also impact the success here. If you need a tool for this, you can head over to optumcareers.com, hit the downloads option in the navigation menu, and you'll see an A/B testing resume tracker. It's free. Go get it. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's define our A/B test. If you're testing your resume content, you're going to want to submit each version of your resume to different job applications, but for similar jobs. For example, send both resume A and B to senior accountant jobs at different companies. You want at least two resumes tailored for the same type of job, but with different information, because people interview people only after they read words that make them want to interview you. So stay focused on testing your resume content rather than things like formatting. If you use a standard reverse chronological resume format, similar to the one taught in our resume courses or used by our resume writers, you shouldn't have to test formatting at all. It'll work. So for example, if you are applying for a director of sourcing job within the supply chain space, you might tailor your resume content in resume A towards creating a cost savings culture and craft that resume around that narrative about how you're this leader who builds this type of organization. Whereas maybe resume B is centered around a different message. Maybe it's centralizing reporting structures to improve supply chain performance. Another example could be for a CFO. One resume may be all about due diligence and post-merger M&A work, and the other resume may be about driving operational efficiencies and leveraging data to support operational improvements. Now you'll notice in both of these examples, I only gave two narratives. So you may be thinking, well, I could just shove everything into one resume. That is a no-win situation. The reason you're A/B testing these resumes, instead of including both of those narratives or more than just those two, is that you don't want to pack your resume with every piece of information about your career. You want to stay focused on what your audience cares about. Your resume should not be a documentary about everything you've done, but instead a concise, well-organized narrative about your capability to solve a narrow set of problems, a specific set of problems for future employers. And A/B testing resumes is a great way to make sure you've got the right message. On the other hand, if you want to A/B test which jobs you may be most qualified for, maybe you're trying to figure out your career plan, or if you want to determine, hey, am I ready for that next step into an HR business partner role instead of an HR manager role, you may submit one resume and then a fake resume with additional qualifications. Maybe the other one, the fake one, has an MBA that you've been thinking about getting. This will help you determine, hey, should I go get that MBA and spend tens of thousands of dollars, or will it not matter? You may be surprised to learn that you're also more ready for that next job than you think you are. And if you're sitting there thinking right now, well, this seems unethical, it seems wrong for me to send a fake resume over to companies, keep in mind that companies do this all the time. They post jobs they aren't actively recruiting for all the time because they're trying to feel out the market and determine what their needs are, what they can get. If they can do it, you can do it too. Next, we probably need to rewrite that resume. Ideally, you're going to want two versions of this resume to test. When people don't see the traction they want in their job search, it's often because their resume story is a complete mess. They often lack a cohesive narrative and oftentimes have so many messages in their resume that it just distracts hiring managers and leaves them confused about why they should even entertain an interview with you in the first place. So before you start A/B testing your resume, have a story-based resume written by either a qualified resume writer, or you can enroll in a resume program similar to what we have. It's the Weekend Resume Makeover. This will help you do this. Your grandma's resume is not going to meet the challenge of today. All right, we got our resume. Now we're going to start submitting those A/B resumes to hiring managers. Remember, the idea is not to send these resumes to everyone you've ever wanted to work with. In fact, targeting companies that are not on your favorite list is probably a better practice here. The point of A/B testing the resume is to identify what works and what doesn't, so then you can craft the resume that will land you interviews with the employers that you do want to work for. So pick 10 or 20 job postings, apply to them using the two versions that you've created, and start tracking your results in that tracker. Once you've got some results for 20, maybe 40 companies max, you don't need many more than that. We need to start analyzing it. Now, this step should be very obvious, but you'll want to take note of which resume was the most successful. In addition, you want to break down your analysis based on factors such as whether you had a referral, was it a cold application? Maybe one version of that resume works better with referrals and one version works better with cold applications. Could happen. Is one resume working for local roles, but not for remote jobs? Think about what could impact that. You're going to really have to use some brain power here and really dig deep into your analysis. If you're located in Boston and the company that you're applying to, even though the job is remote, is based in San Francisco, maybe most of their team is on the West Coast, they may give preference to applicants in their own time zone, thinking, well, it'll be easier to communicate with them because we're all in the same time zone versus someone who's 3 hours ahead. That would be difficult. But they don't know yet that the 3-hour time difference is going to be worth it because they don't know you yet. They don't know what you bring to the table, but you've got to make sure you get to the table to tell them that. So you may consider removing your address from the resume and testing it again and see what variables may work best for remote jobs. That's just one example. Don't shortcut this step. Take your time with your analysis. Get help when you need it from a recruiting or a resume expert. If you haven't booked one yet, I do offer free resume consultations throughout the year. You can book a session with me. You can do it once a year. You can find that also on our website at optumcareers.com. And so dig in to the analysis and figure out what's working, what's not, why not. The other question that you may have is about resume tailoring. This is not an exercise to eliminate tailoring altogether. Of course, you still want to tailor your resume, but tailoring a resume shouldn't be a complete overhaul or a complete rewrite every time you're going to use one. If you have the right master resume, tailoring should take 5 to 10 minutes, not 30 minutes to an hour. If you have a solid job targeting strategy, then you can A/B test that master resume for the right core narrative to ensure that that resume resonates with whoever the audience is that you're targeting, those hiring managers, those recruiters. This exercise, again, want to be clear, is not meant to eliminate or replace tailoring, but to ensure you have the right master resume. And this way you won't waste time tailoring resumes for hours on end later. Once you've got the right resume, start putting it out there. Send it out to all the employers and hiring managers that you want to work for. How do you know when you have the right resume? If you A/B test a resume with 20 companies and 10 of them reply wanting to interview you, it works. If only 1 or 2 companies reply, you probably need to invest some more time rewriting that resume and figuring out what's going on there. Keep in mind, there's many factors and variables that go into writing a successful resume. Having the right job targets, the right job plan is just as equally as important as writing the resume itself. There's no one right way to write a resume. There are wrong ways, but there's not one way to do it. So A/B testing resumes is a great way to know that you've got a winning resume and you don't burn too many job opportunities while you're trying to figure it out. So, in summary, if you want the quick and dirty, A/B testing resumes, ensure you don't throw away that first impression because that first resume you send is going to live in that ATS forever. The first step is to set up a way to track your A/B resume test. Then you're going to define what you're A/B testing. What are we actually testing here? Next, write two versions of that resume or use an old one and a newly rewritten one and submit each resume to 10 or 20 jobs and track those results. Lastly, analyze those results and find out what works and what doesn't and make the necessary changes you need so you can go land the job that you deserve. If you found this helpful, insightful, like it, share it, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and I'll see you back here next time for another episode of Career Talk.